it is starting to feel like a bear market. Now, I know that is a bit sarcastic because we have literally been in this for about 300 days. However, my old content on the screen you can see here, this time is different. Remove that from your vocabulary. All these videos were talking about what I believed was going to happen over the course of the year. This is the thing. Hindsight is a beautiful thing. I got a lot of hate for it at the time, but the reality was my position in the market was I was investing from a long time ago and I made a lot of money. I was pulling money out. Things don't go up forever, right? And this is why I want to talk about this industry at the moment. The thumbnail is simple, bounce. There isn't one. That's what is a bit of a problem. Now, on the mainstream media front, I wouldn't recommend you follow the mainstream media, but normies do. Everyone thinks that Bitcoin is now dead. Everyone thinks that there's, all kinds of situations around obviously what's happened with obviously Terra Luna, with FTX, with Free Arrow Capital, with Alameda Research, all these stuff. It's a bad thing. It's a terrible thing, and it's gonna, I think, stop the adoption side of it a little bit, in that sense, because it's obvious. However, thus being said, the lower we go, the more bullish I will be, right? I've said it before. People do ask me this question, are you ever going to become bullish? Because over the course of this year, I have not been, sorry. But if you're in my Patreon, which you should be, to be fair, you will know my full stance on the market. You will know what I'm buying, when I'm buying, and ultimately how I'm doing it. Because that's how you play the game. It's a dog-eat-dog kind of world in this market. It's a free market. You are aiming to beat the competitors on the order books. Now, a little bit of a secret. I think this market is going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. I think, my personal belief, we have not had that proper big, horrible, ugly shakeout yet. I think with this FTX debacle, more's going to come out publicly because of the, the bankruptcy element to it, right? There's going to be a lot of things coming out publicly which will create fear. It will create a bit of greed as well, okay? So make sure you understand that greed in the terms of the shorters will get greedy. There will be volatility. But when I look at previous bottoms and look at situations of a bottom, often there's not enough bad news to kind of prop it up, right? Usually you need some horrendous news to make it become a bottom, because that's where the shorts will go piling in, that's where the squeeze is, and that's where it turns or it stabilizes. Personally, my belief is I don't think we've had that just yet. Now, the news. Other news, obviously on the, the trending stuff, if we go over to the bullish news, there is some bullish news. Obviously, there always is, because these are like just how it is. If you go to the bearish news, yeah, there is, but there's a lot of stuff happening with Solana Network. There's a lot of stuff happening with other VC firms. There's a lot of stuff happening with obviously Binance and stuff like that in terms of record sales and people moving money out. I always recommend to people, don't use an exchange, use and abuse them, right? That's what they're there for. Utilize them as an on-ramp, as an off-ramp to purchase and remove onto your ledger or whatever device you want to use. Seems like people have changed massively in the last week, which is crazy, right? Let's look at price action. Now, Near Protocol is a great example of this, right? Fantastic project in my opinion. If you know me on Patreon, you'll know exactly what my thoughts are on this. Little hint. Now, the price is irrelevant most of the time in investing. It's all about what you buy, and when you buy is where the profit is. I often say this, it's not when you sell, it's when you buy is where the profit is, right? Because if you're getting fair value and you're getting good value, there's a better chance. It's called probability, right? Using technical analysis can be as good as you want, right? But ultimately, if the team is shit, if there's protocol failures, if there's problems with the tokenomics, if there's some kind of FUD that you can't really, get away from, it's not going to go up in price, is it? Put it that way. So you got to rely on other things as well. It's a bit of luck too. It's just one of those things. It happens. Now, fundamentals. Near Protocol is caught up in the Alameda Research. About 1.5% of the supply is owned by them. They've obviously had a little bit of a liquidity problem. Oopsie. Because they're crap. They're rubbish, right? Who thought? But this is just going to make the prices fall even lower, in my opinion, on certain projects that are caught up in it, which is going to then lead to more fear, more greed. And this is why I think the market isn't bouncing, because I think people are waiting to see what's happening. This is why the market is numb. Fear. Fear is the worst thing for a market, in my opinion. Greed is as well, but ultimately, if you're on the greed side of it, if it's going up, you usually would have made some money. It's down to you to take the profit. When it's down like this is where you're going to be called lucky for surviving it. Personally, the revenue mechanism of NIA, the overall ecosystem of NIA is fine. Just people are getting fudded out of their bags right now, and it's going to happen again. This happened in the last cycle. A lot of people fudded out of bags. Matic was a great example. In the last cycle, people were like, nah, not touching Matic, rubbish coin, developers are selling it, India banning cryptocurrency, and then what happened? Yeah. This is a thing. The no bounce is a bit of an issue. However, it means you can buy more. It just means you can buy more. If you've done your research and you have put your risk management on point and you're happy to do whatever you want to do, this is where the opportunities lie. And this is why a no bounce in the market is interesting, because I don't think the bottom is in yet. So take with this a big massive pinch of salt. Look at BTC. Yeah, it looks disastrous. It looks like a shitcoin. It looks like something that's horrendous. But so does the stock market, right? A lot of tech stocks look the same. If we go lower on BTC, I think we are going to get much more buy-in pressure down here than we are here. I think right where we are right now, in my personal opinion, people are shell-shocked. I think people are waiting. I think people are being patient. And I don't think people are going, oh, that's a good opportunity. Because I think with the public domain of this bankruptcy of FTX and how big it is in terms of all the other kind of, sub bits of it, i.e. different capital funds and whatever liquid or unliquid or whatever's trapped is trapped, it's not creating enough of an opportunity. I think if we go lower, because people are genuinely panicking, I think that is where the money will start to step in. This, in my opinion, isn't enough. But what isn't enough as well, there's no bounce. This is where I'm thinking we're going to go lower because I think people are waiting. But as I say, if people start piling shorts, if people start piling longs, this is where they get the manipulative bounces and the drops to the downside in much more aggressive fashion. So you've got to be careful. The same situation could be said for the total market cap. Looking exactly the same. I still believe we are going to go down to these levels, this level here, and potentially worst case scenario down here. I've said it before in previous videos recently. I don't think we have 794 billion in this market. I think there's a lot of illiquid money that could get burned or written off, whatever you want to describe it as. Certainly if they're in some of these VC funds. Everyone wanted to be a VC fund a few weeks ago. Now look at it. Mental. Same with the total too. Looking like this. There's been no real relief. There's been no real bounce. And it's kind of like, what happens next? Well, usually if there's no bounce, we just consolidate. The bulls are weak. The bears will get stronger. And it will just go further down. So we've got to be very, very mindful. There could be a bounce. There needs to be a bounce, in my opinion, to make this market run a bit better. But we may be sat here for a couple of weeks now. It might be very, very boring until we start seeing some more information come out. If the news is bad and it's more information coming out and there's issues with other coins and maybe some stablecoin problems as well, there could be some issues. So that is my take on this market right now. Not great, I know. But when we look at the obvious here, the elephant in the room, fear and greed moves the markets, along with the news, because that generates it, right? I think people are panicking a little bit right now. I think, for me, there's not enough opportunity in the space to think that's low. That's low enough to kind of take that risk. I think with the public domain of this bankruptcy and how it is kind of portrayed in the media at the moment, which is, in my opinion, not as negative as it could be, for obvious reasons, because of someone who's got certain family members, just saying. It could be interesting to see where we go. If BTC dribbles down a little bit lower, I think a lot of permabulls will start biting. And that is where we'll start to see a bit of stability and a bit more bounce and volatility. I'm disappointed with the lack of volatility at the minute. I think it's weird. Food for thought, right? Final thing before I go. BTC dominance. If this goes up, your altcoins are going to get burned. So just be freaking careful of it. Because if altcoins do start perishing because there is a lot of liquidity trapped and they need to be sold off to raise funds or whatever loan situation that they're in, altcoins will be the ones that will probably be the first one to be sacrificed. Anyways, watch this video. May well help you. See you in a bit.